All right, so an update to our Social Security spouse fit issue. All right, so I emailed Elaine Floyd, who is our extraordinary Social Security person. She runs the Horse's Mouth SavvySocialSecurity.com website, which you should subscribe to. It's about $600-700 a year. But man, if you're interested in Social Security, you don't have to be a financial advisor. It's fantastic. I get questions. How do you know so much? I just follow SavvySocialSecurity.com. That's it. I've been paying. Hell, I've been a Horse's Mouth subscriber since 2005. They had a guy named Bill Nicklin who used to write there. And that's how I came across Craig Israelson, as a matter of fact. So anyway, but Savvy Social Security, I think they broke that out in 2014. I've been paying, every single year, man. They also have other stuff on there too, tax planning, college planning, all this. So I'm a big fan. All right, so anyway, I emailed her in regard to the question that we had the other day about spousal benefits. And I want to share with you the email, all right, because I think it's very interesting. And unfortunately, it's not nearly as beneficial as I thought. It's like, it's a beneficial, a couple $100 a month, but not to the extent that's hoping. So first, I just want to show you something here. All right, so this is somewhere right here. If the spouse takes a spousal benefit, all right, and takes it at 62 as opposed to the spouse's full retirement age, she will get 35% of the PIA of the husband, or vice versa. All right, so if the PIA is $1,000, she'll get $350. Just keep that in mind. All right, if the spouse takes her own benefit at 62, she'll only get 30% of her own benefit. All right, remember the spousal benefit is 50% of the PIA. All right. So if she takes it at 62, it's not 50%, it's 35% of the PIA. Just keep that in mind. So it seems like the spousal benefit actually is more rewarding than taking it early on your own benefit. But no, this is 30% of your full own benefit. This is 35% of the entirety of the PIA, but the PIA is already reduced by half of that. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't. But anyway, so just remember, if you had $1,000 a month PIA on your own benefit and you took it at 62, you would get $700 a month. If the PIA of your spouse was $1,000 a month and you took the spousal benefit at 62, you get $350 a month. All right, just keep that in mind. So it's a pretty significant difference. So I'm going to share with you what the question I asked Elaine was. I said, wife is currently on her own benefit. All right, so she took her own benefit at 62. So she has a 30% reduction in her amount that she gets on her own benefit. All right. Let's see what else I said. And I'll show an example in Right Capital here in just a second. All right. A few years later, the hub files for his benefit. The wife is now 64. All right. So the husband filed 2 years after the wife filed for her own benefit, which opens the spousal window. The spousal window is now open. Remember, you can't have a spousal benefit until the greater earning spouse files for his benefit. You can't. There's no spousal benefit unless you're divorced until the spouse files. Okay? So she filed at 62, got 30% reduction on her own benefit. 2 years later, the spouse filed for his benefit, and that opened the spousal window if she could get a bigger benefit because the spousal benefit might be bigger than her own. All right, so let's keep going. Let's see. Because it seems Social Security doesn't automatically adjust if the spousal benefit is greater than her own benefit, the wife would have to initiate a claim to get the spousal benefit, which is greater than her own. However, can she defer filing for her spousal benefit until she's at FRA in order to receive the full 50% with no reduction? Right. So again, this is where I was a little bit too eager here. I said, ooh. So essentially, it's almost like not a file suspend, but she could file for her own benefit, get a 30% reduction on her own benefit, and then at 67 file and get the entirety of the 50% spousal benefit. And unfortunately, Elaine made it very, very clear to me, no. This is a gray area where actual practice doesn't conform to the law. Based on the law, her spousal benefit should start as soon as her husband files for his benefit. But if she doesn't apply for it, Social Security, it won't start. If she doesn't apply for it, Social Security won't start. And Social Security is not reaching out to spouses to make sure it does. So I would say, yes, she can wait until her FRA to file for the spousal benefit in order to receive the full difference between the PIA and 50% of his PIA, rather than having it reduced for claiming early. But note, the spousal benefit add-on will go on top of her already reduced Social Security benefit, so her total benefit will never equal 50% of PIA. I was like, oh, that's right. And so I'll show you here. I forgot about that. I was like, man. So here we get Diane, and Diane's basically, I'll show you what I'm talking. I was like, I was, there's a little bit of a benefit here, but it's not much, man. I was like, ugh. I was very upset. Not upset. I was just like, dag nabbit. So here's Diane. Diane is her PIA is $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year. She's going to take it at early as possible at 62, which means it'll be reduced by 30%. So her benefit will be, her own benefit will be right here, basically $13,000 a year. So 13,000 divided by 18,000, and again, it's not to be exact perfect, but it's basically a 30% reduction because there's a 2.4% COLA in here as well. So anyway, so when she takes her own benefit, which is $1,500 a month, when she takes it early, it won't pay $1,500 a month. It'll pay 70% of that. All right, so you can see right here. Now, we're going to see Social Security. Now, husband is going to file at his full retirement age. All right, so husband's going to get $40,000 a year. If Diane would have if she would have waited for I guess this. The husband, let me show you what I'm talking about. The husband's benefit, because I got to show you the husband's benefit, is in this case $3,500 a month. All right. So that means if Diane would have waited until she was 67, she would get the greater of her own benefit or half of this, which is $1,750. So in theory, she would have got the spousal benefit because it was greater than her own by $250 a month. Remember, her own benefit is only $1,500. The spousal benefit is 50% of the husband's, which in this case is $1,750. So if she would have waited till she's full retirement age, she would have got $250 a month more than her own benefit. Everybody with me on that? But because she took her own benefit early, all right, her own benefit is still reduced even if her spousal benefit is not. So she will never get 50% of the spousal benefit because she still took her own benefit early. And that's where I was like, oh, man, that's where I made a mistake. It's just like, I should have known that. I did. I was like, oh, man. Now, it's still a benefit. I mean, look, check this out. She'll still get an additional kicker. It's not much. But she'll still get an additional kicker of right here, at 67. 18, so that's $150 a month. Once the husband files, she'll still get an additional kicker of $1,875. Not a huge amount, but $150 is still $150. Whereas if she would have got this, let me show you what I'm talking about. Check this out. Hold on a second. Whereas if the husband filed and Diane took her spousal benefit, she would have got $1,788 a year as opposed to, I think it was $1,875. So it ends up being an extra $100 for her because of the delay for the spousal benefit. Because again, Social Security doesn't just automatically adjust. Again, not a huge amount. I mean, $100, $100, but it's $100 a year, not $100 a month. And I was like, oh man. Anyway, that's a wrap. So that's not a huge issue there. I'm sure this doesn't make sense to some of you guys, but it does to me. I had gold in them there hills. I said, oh, sweet. So she could take her own reduced benefit, turn around, trade that in for 50% spousal benefit when she's 67. No, it doesn't work like that. Anyway, well, you don't know until you know. Now we know. All right, God bless. Love your thoughts. Don't forget to smash that like button.